Alright guys, so here is my new controller, the Razer Wolverine V3 Tournament Edition. Now, we're going to be reviewing this and see how good this is. We're going to be also showing you guys gameplay of this. But apparently everything on this controller is mouse click, including the paddles on it. And it has 2 extra buttons at the top that are called action buttons. And you can bind these just like paddles. And instead of having only 4 or 2 paddles, now you can have the extra 2. Some people only like having 2 paddles. I like using 3, but I'll probably use all of them, and I'll use these as well. As you can also see, it says on the box that it has Hall effect thumbsticks, and what these do is that it reduces the chance of having stick drift. And what that means is that this controller basically can't have any stick drift, just like the Game Sir controller as well. I'll pop it up on the screen now, but that's only $40, and that doesn't have any stick drift to it at all. And for a controller that is $40, that is an amazing price. So I'll put the link to the description to the Game Sir controller as well, and a link in the description as well for this controller. This was only $100. I saved up a lot of money to get this. But yeah, let's check it out and see how it is. Alright, so here it is in all of its glory, the Razer Wolverine V3 edition. And it also comes with about a 6-foot long cord, which is a very long for a cord. But here's the controller. It is very light. And here is the back of it. So these are the trigger stops. So you can have Hall effect or all the way clamped in like that. And it is now mouse click. So here is the whole reason why I'm even switching my controller at all. And it's because this controller right here, this controller is not a bad controller at all whatsoever. It's gotten me a bunch of wins. It's gotten me to rank elite in Fortnite. But the only thing that is a problem with this is that it's getting old now. And with that, your controller can get very high stick drift, and I don't know if this is a actual fact or not, but it seems like it happens a lot to me. But after the controller gets old for a while, it can develop a lot of delay. And these buttons right here, all of these used to be so fast that you didn't even barely even need to click these down. They were basically Hall effect, but they're not. They don't even have trigger stops, and that's because they were so fast that you barely even had to pull. I had to pull right there, and it used to work, and it still does too, but only sometimes. As you guys can see, it also flipped. It scrolled down. This is how you scroll down, and it works. But sometimes these won't even work, and a lot of times these buttons up here don't work at all. So I had to switch, and there's only 2 paddles on the back, which is fine for Fortnite, but for other games, I don't really play a lot of other games right now. But when I do play other games and just want to chill on a few other games, I use about 3, maybe 4 different paddles. If I want to use a controller that has 3 paddles, I use, the Power A, I forget what it's called, but it's right here. This has 3 paddles on it, if you guys can see through the cable. But I use 3 on there. But for Fortnite, since this controller used to be so responsive, I only used this one and only used 2. But now, switching my controller to this. This controller, I can already tell, is gonna be insane. Everything pretty much on here is mouse click, and it's very responsive. It's pretty easy to also set up the paddles as well. These paddles aren't like amazingly great where they're placed, but they're not bad either. I have everything set up right. So this is my pickaxe. The bottom paddle, the one at the top, is my jump. The one at the top left is my run, sprint, and the one at the bottom is to pull out my builds. This will be a little hard to get used to, but also the action buttons at the top. This one is to reload, so just hit that and I reload. And this is to hold out my inventory as well. So yeah, let's get started with the free build. Oh, this is gonna be hard to get used to because This controller is so different from what I've used before, and all the buttons are basically clammed up on top of each other, but these buttons are very smooth, and they actually work very well. The one thing I don't like about this controller is where the paddles are placed. I feel like they should be more spread out. But overall, I think it's a pretty good controller. It's not that bad. It's definitely very responsive. I love this controller so far. But it will take a while getting used to how to use the paddles and the action buttons. But overall, I don't think it's a bad controller. Trying to use it like claw right now, claw motion. It's not really working so well. I accidentally pulled out my inventory while building, so keep in mind this controller is probably for people that have smaller hands, and that's a weird thing coming from an Xbox controller, because people usually think Xbox controllers are very big and they're really easy to use because they're so big, but they're really not. Especially this one. You know, my hands might just be big, but yeah, I mean, my fingers are also very long, and they are hitting the action buttons a lot. But I don't really mind that. The controller will get some getting used to, but I'm very fine with that, and I can adapt with something new, and I'm very okay with that. So, as long as the controller is good, then I'm happy. And it feels very responsive, especially for a Xbox controller, because if you don't know, Xbox controllers have a lot of delay on them. But if I'm gonna be honest, I think this controller is mainly used for FPS games, such like Call of Duty and stuff like that. For Fortnite, I think it's pretty much fine. But for Fortnite, there's a lot of things that you do all at once. You build, and you know, you do a lot of movements just at once. And I think for a controller like this, it is pretty good for that. But it will get some getting used to. It's kind of like playing on keyboard and mouse. You have to get used to it. You have to get adapted to it with new buttons and stuff. But overall, I think this controller deserves at least an 8.5 to a 9 out of 10. So I'm going to go pretty much in the middle out of that and give it an 8.8. No, I'll give it an 8.9. Okay, the only reason why it's not getting a 9 is because I don't like where the paddles are placed, because my hands are really big, and I would rather have the two upper paddles up just slightly more, so they're more spaced out. They're not very spaced out much. I wish they were a little bit more spaced out. And then my fingers are also very long, so my fingers also hit the action buttons thinking that they are the top bumper buttons, and I pulled out my inventory on accident trying to place a cone. So that is a little bit of a problem, but not too bad, and I can get used to it. I can get more adapted to it. You know, it's all about getting adapted to something new, and with this, it is going to be some getting used to. But overall, I can adapt with something like that. And I think this controller deserves an 8.9 out of 10. It would get a full 9 out of 10 if the controller had a little bit better of a placement on the buttons. So that's going to be the review for today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please make sure to drop a like and subscribe if you guys want to see more videos like this. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.